Ken.
And
How you doing?
good.
Good. So we've got the coffee mugs just about ready. We need to grab some glasses. I'll grab 6 glasses maybe. So
Also need to get a creamer, like a little dispenser.
I'll have to search for that. So this morning we have a little bit different than normal schedule. We have a visitor. We actually have Congresswoman coming to visit with some friends. Thank you. So they're actually going to have a presentation upstairs in the conference room, and we're going to provide them lunch upstairs, which isn't a big deal. It's just going to be sandwiches, sandwich meat. They can make their own sandwiches. We have carafes of coffee, so I'm actually making a fresh brew of coffee to add to the carafe to take up there. So we need to bring mugs, sugar, milk, that kind of thing. I'm going to get a jug of water. So not particularly difficult, just a little bit different than normal. And then I think that's about it. Did you sleep well, Ken?
Slept perfectly.
I got up at 5:30 this morning to see the sunrise, and unfortunately couldn't see the sunrise. So tomorrow's another day. All right, let's crack on. Okay, so this is the conference room. You saw it on the first day where we had the weekly briefing during the shift change on the Wednesday. There's going to be a meeting in here today. There's some guests coming to visit, so I think there's about 5 guests coming. So because it's going to be about 11:30, they've asked that we provide some lunch up here. So we're just doing like a deli platter with sandwiches. We've got the cookies and the cupcakes and things that we already had, so we brought that up. I made a carafe of coffee, I brought water up, mugs, glasses, all that kind of thing. So all pretty simple, no big deal. Once they head down about 12:30 and they're done, we just have to come up, clear up a bit, take it down, and that's it for the day really. We're hoping to get out maybe later for a hike, so we'll see how it goes. Hey Ken.
Hey Andrew, here you can see we're cutting some sausages for tonight's dinner. So we're going to have pasta with Italian sausage. We got the sauce going in crock pot over here. And we added some tomatoes and some onions and some mushrooms. And after these brown up, we'll slice them up and put it inside there, and then we'll cook off. And tonight, a beautiful sauce that we can pour over different kinds of pasta that we'll cook up.
What's our method for figuring how much we need? Not so scientific, but...
Yeah, you just want to make sure you have at least enough. It's okay to have too much, you can do leftovers. So you figure, okay, what's one serving per person going to be? And then you just multiply it by the amount of people that you have to feed that night.
And then last night...
And then add a little more to that.
Last night's chili was pretty good, right? We had
we only
two and a
had one
half...
left over.
Yeah, we had 2.5 pounds of beef, and we added about 30 ounces of fluids, and so we figured about the same for the pasta sauce for tonight with the sausage should be good. So those are looking pretty good. So we're just we'll take Ken's browning up the sausages, and this is the crock pot that's going here, and then this is a combination of some pasta sauce but also tomato sauce and then ingredients of our own, so we're going to mix that up. Right now it's about 10:30, so we'll leave that going all day, and that should be good for tonight for dinner around 7.
I remember making bread with my friend Doris one time, but she did all the work.
So you can say it's your first time making bread then, huh, Ken?
Yeah, I think so. You're doing the making. I'm just copying you.
I have a plumber friend who has a saying for that, but I can't say that on camera, so...
Okay. You can tell me off camera.
So actually, it's looking really good. So we thought we'd do some garlic bread. So
Except we had no bread.
Except we had no French bread. And lo and behold, in the magic book, there is a recipe for French bread. So seeing that we thought we did well with the ice cream last night, we thought, hey, we can make French bread.
Is that 16 in there?
Yeah. So
That's right.
So we're trying our hand at French bread, and I'll let you know how it goes. Well, French garlic bread, right?
No, say something in French.
Comme quoi?
Oh, say something right, substantial in French.
Si on fait en français, ben, on fait les baguettes, et puis on va mettre du lait, un peu de beurre, et ça va marcher très bien.
David.
And you're making a mess.
Of course I am.
It actually looks, yeah, it's very difficult. We're doing it a cup at a time. It's very stiff on the hand. But anyway, so, hey, I guess if we can make bread, anyone can make bread. But we haven't seen if we will succeed. Anyway, we'll see how it goes. This is our bread that we've baked. Well, this is our bread that we've made. We haven't baked it yet. We've got one in the oven. And this is dinner's looking good. I'm tired.
It's been a long day. It's just after 10 o'clock now, and we'll be in this kitchen probably 10 hours today.
I definitely feel like today we got a feeling for how it would be in the winter, maybe with guests.
Yeah, well, we had guests today. For lunchtime, we had to take care of Carol Shea Porter and her, the entourage she brought with her. So we had to, make lunch and bring it upstairs and stop the conference room up there.
I think it was a little bit more tiring and more complicated because we had to do it upstairs.
Oh yeah, because we had to go upstairs. We had to, we had to just
Shut
make everything
everything
here,
out there.
huff it up there, and then when it was all finished, we had to go up there and get everything back down here and clean the room.
Yeah.
And at the same time, we were preparing for a very complicated dinner. It doesn't sound complicated because it was just pasta with sauce with garlic bread. And, if you could go to the grocery store and pick all that stuff out, it would be real simple, but we didn't have that availability, so we had to, number one, make our own bread. So we had to look up recipes for that, and the bread came out great. It was a really nice, like an artisan crafted bread that came out. And then we had to do the
Garlic butter.
garlic butter, so we had to look up a recipe for that. We found a really nice recipe, and it was relatively simple to make, except it asked for Italian seasoning. We didn't have that, so I had to dig out, look up what Italian seasoning was, and so I started to go down that rabbit hole. But that happens, and the reason that we're here is to make meals for this crew, and that's some of the limitations. So sometimes you're gonna have ideas, and you're not gonna have what you need, and you're gonna have to figure it out, and that's just the way it goes. And the crew is really appreciative of what we do. They always say thank you for the meals that we make for them, and nobody's complaining about anything. The food's been really good, but no one's complaining. Like I said, they're always thankful for the stuff that we're doing for them.
We didn't get outside, obviously, you've seen in the earlier videos, we obviously didn't get outside until about 3:30, 4 o'clock, but it was a lovely day outside, so kind of almost the reward for such a hard day in here, made the trip outside even more worthwhile.
Oh yeah, and it was fabulous out there. We got about maybe 2 hours out there, and we got to hike down a little bit down the Nelson Crag Trail, and went down toward one of the markers where the first woman who died up here had spent the night. So we get down there, and there was no wind. I'm astonished. I've never seen a mountain like this, and I've been out probably a dozen times. And it was almost 60 degrees with no wind. So that's almost shorts and t-shirt weather. I heard it was pretty hot down in the valley, close to 90 degrees, and sunny. It was pretty sunny today, except we had a really interesting haze left over from the California wildfires. So that's been blowing east, and that's affecting the smog condition that we have here.
So it's Friday night. This is our third night.
Yeah.
So we're almost approaching the halfway mark. We were looking at trying to plan out what we do for dinners, the remaining nights, of which there's 4. partly initially we were trying to decide what we cook for dinner tomorrow night, but then we started to try and plan out a little bit more, and it got us thinking a little bit about what we could do, what meat there is, and we checked out the freezer again. And actually one of the things we did, which I don't really think we've done to this point, is we asked some of them, what do you want? I think we, to this point, because we're not master chefs, have kind of gone with the, what do we think we can cook that would be half decent? As I think now we're at the point where we've got maybe 5, 6 ideas, and fortunately for us, I think they've liked all the meals a lot so far, but it was at the point where we said, well, what do you guys like? What do you usually like? Now bear in mind, all of the crew work together all the time, so every week when they, or every other week when they work their shift, they all work together, so they all know what they like and what they don't like. So I think if I did this again, if it was a group of people I hadn't been with before, so let's say it was the other shift, I think the first thing I would do is say, okay, what do you guys like? I think we've been lucky that we've done stuff they like, but I think we got some pointers around prioritization.
These guys aren't picky.
No.
They're willing to spend a week on a mountain that's close enough to civilization, but in the wintertime, completely remote, because it's really difficult to get up here. You know, it can be a 12-hour ride in a snowcat in the wintertime. So that gets isolated. So if you have that kind of mentality, then you're willing to eat whatever is put in front of you in some cases, just because it's calories and you have to have them. Not to say they don't appreciate a good meal, but these guys are, like I said, they're really thankful and they're not real picky. Some of them have, like nut allergies and that sort of thing, and of course we would, take care of that. But we're starting to see some of the challenges that you face. High altitude baking is pretty interesting. We've baked 2 days in a row now, and we've gotten through it relatively successfully. All right, so
I guess a couple of things for me. One is I have a water bottle at home. This is Ken's. I didn't bring my water bottle.
Yeah, and you need to drink at altitude.
And that's the thing is that
so quickly.
you got to force yourself to drink, and that's kind of one thing today I did a way better job at. Not that I've been dehydrated, but I just started to notice that I got to start drinking.
Yeah, you won't feel thirsty, but you'll maybe begin to get a headache. You might develop a cough. For me, it's always a headache, and I had a headache almost from the moment I got here. So I was probably dehydrated getting here, and today and last night I've been forcing the fluids. But that's going to make you pee a lot at nighttime. It's real funny. I don't pee during the day very much, just a normal amount, and then at nighttime I'm getting up like 3-4 times. It's kind of an aggravation, but that's just being at altitude.
Yes, it is.
There's something that happens. I've been at higher altitude. I've been in the Andes Mountains, and one thing that can happen to people is a thing called periodic breathing. And it doesn't happen to me at just at 6,000 feet, but at, let's say, 9 or 10,000, it might when I first get there. And what happens is that you forget. Well, you don't forget. You don't get a signal to breathe in. See, what tells us to breathe what tells us to breathe is the amount of carbon dioxide that we have in our bloodstream. And when you're breathing at high altitude, you're breathing less of everything, and the carbon dioxide doesn't accumulate in your blood as much, but your oxygen levels are depleted because you have less of that also. And so what will happen is that your brain doesn't get the signal to breathe, and so you're sleeping, and you've exhaled, and you don't breathe in again. And then you wake yourself up gasping for breath. And it's really normal, and it's not dangerous, but it's kind of freaky the first couple times it happens to you. Like I said, it happens to me only at about 9 or 10,000 feet above sea level, not at 6,000. So I don't know if people have experienced it down here, but it's something to think about.
So then the other thing we were talking about today is, all the people actually here are getting to know slowly, and they're all great people, each of them very different in their personalities. We've got the 2 interns who are younger, but again, very interesting backgrounds. It's been great getting to know them. And, one thing that struck me today is these guys and girls are up here every other week for 52 weeks a year. So in essence, they're up here 27 weeks a year.
26?
I'm tired. 26 weeks a year. So they're up here 26 weeks a year. thank you, because otherwise I'd have to put a star on the screen there. 26 weeks a year. And every week they're up here, hypothetically speaking, there's 2 new volunteers. So this is our first time. And when we arrived and when we met them at the base on Wednesday, this is their job. But to them, we were just another 2 volunteers. They were very friendly, don't get me wrong. But for us, it's our first time, and we want to obviously build relationships, we want to get to know people. For them, because they've been doing it for so long, they're just far more used to having, in essence, 2 strangers cook the meal.
Excuse me.
Even though, conversations are great over dinner, and, again, they're very welcoming, very approachable.
Yeah, it's going to take them a little while to warm up to you.
But then I feel like tonight dinner that was great. I feel like it's got to that point where they know our personalities now, and we know their personalities, and it's to Ken's point, it takes a few days for them to get to that point now. Okay, there are people that volunteer more often, so it's not always the case that it's new volunteers that haven't volunteered before. But I definitely don't think that should be something that would put anyone off. I think it's just a kind of, for a first-time volunteer, for them to be cognizant of the fact that the people you're about to meet are not going to be like your best friends day one, because they're used to having 2 strangers come into their life every other week,
invading their home.
Invading their home.
This is their kitchen.
Yeah.
This is their living space. This is their dining room table right here, and they, believe me, they appreciate this. They appreciate us coming in. They can't thank us enough, and but you're in their personal space.
Mhm.
So you just have to realize that and give them the space that they need and that they deserve.
So yeah, that was kind of the one thing that kind of struck us today, or at least it struck me today, and obviously I discussed
No,
with
it actually
Ken.
did. Yeah, it did, and I could notice how the conversations today were different. It was yesterday and the day before, they had their conversations, and it was there, and we were out here. And today it was more we were inside of that.
Yeah, it wasn't a them and us. It wasn't like they sat one end of the table.
No, it just
But
was
it was more like
yeah.
it was more like
Well, they were friends, and we didn't really know them, and they didn't know us too well. And that's just what happens. So.
But no, it's again so far, awesome experience. We're almost halfway through, and if anyone asks me, should I do it? I'd say that you need to do it for the right reasons. You're not coming up here for a free ride. You're not coming up here because you want to go hiking all day. You're coming up here to be part of this very unique experience, and part of the benefits are you get to go out on days like today, that we were very lucky for, and we got to enjoy a good few hours. But I think that really from the mindset is that you need to think about the fact that you're coming up here to help the awesome organisation that is the Observatory.
Yeah, that's the best way to say it, because if you read the literature, they say, your first job is to make sure you're cooking for these guys, because they're stuck here. They can't order pizza. They can't come into a restaurant, and they're busy. They work 12-hour shifts.
13-hour shifts.
Yeah, 7 days a week. So they will take care of themselves for breakfast, and they'll take care of themselves for lunch. Or you can cook for them if you're cooking for another group, but they want to sit down for a nice dinner and not have to worry too much about what they have to do. Just imagine working 7 days straight for 13 hours a day, and how tired and exhausted you're going to be. If you want to come home and cook when you do that, and people do it, but you don't have to.
So today, I feel like today, yes, it was a very long, tiring day. It was very different than the other days. But I feel like we've crossed that mark now. We know how to plan for the rest of the week. I feel like everyone's not going to get sick from food poisoning. I feel like we're not going to screw this up royally.
Don't jinx us.
I know, that's true. I shouldn't have said that.
I know.
I'll edit that bit out. No, I feel like we've got to the point where we're comfortable now. We've got some structure with what we do. And it can all go wrong tomorrow.
It can always go wrong. Yeah. But you just respond. If a bad meal happens, you just figure it out. And we do have a contingency plan.
That was actually, to Ken's point, that was one thing that we figured out on the first day, because we didn't know how good or bad we were going to be at this. We had a backup plan that we've got in our back pocket that we could throw together in 25 minutes if we put together a meal and it was a disaster for whatever reason, could be anything, right? We've got a backup plan that wouldn't be the best meal they'd ever eaten, but they'd be happy with it, and that couldn't go wrong. So we do have a backup plan. We may end up.
Are we going to tell them what the backup plan is?
We did tonight, didn't we?
No, we're going to tell the camera.
Oh.
We'll keep it out of
We'll keep it out of
Yeah, so have a backup plan in case something happens where you can.
And that backup plan may be if you're not a cook, if you don't cook all the time, it may be the one meal that you know you can do with your eyes closed, right? It doesn't mean you do that on your first night because you're comfortable with it. It can be that backup plan if something fails.
And then, or you can always do it on your last night too. You can say, okay, I have this, I'm gonna hold it off, and then we'll probably do it on Tuesday if everything goes well.
And that's our plan. Is that if everything goes okay.
Yeah, not according to what we were doing earlier. We started mapping.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, we're still. It's fluid.
Yeah.
What's gonna happen?
We'll see. We may end up using the backup plan before then anyway.
And that's what.
All right, I am ready for bed.
Yep.
And I'm hoping to get the sunrise tomorrow morning because I'm gonna have to wake up at 5:30 again.
Yeah. Oh, you get up, and if it's really sunny, then I'll come out and take my DSLR out, and we'll go.
I might actually go up and see Ryan now and see if he can tell us if it's worth getting up for.
Okay. Hey, can out.
Adios. It was at this point we went back upstairs to check out the conditions at night. It was about 10:30 and the conditions outside were still very warm. There was hardly any wind at all, and we actually ended up grabbing our cameras and spent about half an hour to 45 minutes outside. I managed to snap some great photos. It was just really pleasant being out there, no one else around. Really great experience, kind of an experience I hadn't really thought about in terms of being outside at night, especially on a night like that where the moon was out, it was very clear, great conditions. And here's a couple of photos anyway from that we managed to capture.